And we are live with another episode of the Embracing Joy podcast. And I'm so excited to introduce our special guest, Dr. Lindsay Graybeck, today. And our topic is emotional intelligence for leaders. Thanks for joining us today, Lindsay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So we are going to go right into her bio. I want you to know more about her. She is a former critical care nurse turned physician, and she's experienced firsthand the pressures that women in medicine face. She helps female physicians grow their emotional intelligence so that they can feel more satisfied in relationships and lead with confidence and lead with intention. Her coaching is described as a blend of unconditional support and compassion, with guidance to empower women to move beyond survival mode and reconnect with their purpose and their passion. She also, let me just. She's practicing as a board certified anesthesiologist, and she also trained as an emotional intelligence coach for high achieving women, especially physician moms. She helps those who are ready to live and lead with more confidence, resilience, and wisdom. And through her coaching practice, she helps female physicians and other driven professionals grow their emotional intelligence so that they can become better leaders, doctors, parents, humans who make a meaningful impact by showing up authentically and intentionally in their lives and communities. Wow. Well, thanks for joining us. That's like pretty amazing work that you do.
It's a weird feeling having someone talk about you while you're sitting right here.
Well, just absorb the accolades of what you've done and what you continue to do,
Thank
the
you.
mission, the purpose-driven work that you're doing to help
Thank you.
so many physicians. So we like to start with a short game. It's called Convergence. So let me explain this. You'll say the first word on your mind. So we both say the first word on our mind on the count of 3.
Okay.
And then if and then we try to get to the same word. So say
Ooh,
I picked apple, and then you picked a tree or something, and then the next word we try to think something that connects the two.
Okay.
So that would be maybe nature or weather, something that could possibly connect the two. But try not to get too specific, like people's names,
Okay.
or like specific places. Let's play. Okay, so on the count of 3, just close your eyes, and we're going to say the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Door.
Car. I don't know why car was on my thing. So car, a car and door. So something that connects without getting too specific.
Car. Door.
Okay, let's see. You ready? 1, 2, 3. I was thinking it's too specific, and I'm thinking of the Ferrari, that thing. I know, and it's like very specific, so I couldn't use it, but I couldn't think of anything else. So let's try again.
Wait, what did you say? Ferrari?
Those, the cars that open, their doors open.
Like wings or whatever?
Like wings, yeah.
Okay. We were kind of there, I was like thinking windows opening,
Oh yeah. Okay, let's try one more time. So we're still thinking of something that connects car and door. Yeah?
Okay. Car and door. Hold on. Now I got to think of another one. Window's all I got.
Okay.
Hold on. I can do it.
Okay, let's see. 3, 1. So, okay. 1, And it can be any word, like, like it doesn't have to like really connect, just the word that comes up to you
Okay.
next.
Okay. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Journey.
Oh,
Yes, that's it. Those are that
I
connects.
like
Those
that.
the journey and trip are the same words.
Yeah,
So
nice.
yeah, so awesome.
Well, it's like a
So
little bit of pressure, but also fun.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the questions that we have for you. So Dr. Grayback, you work closely with women in medicine who are often operating in very high stress, high stakes environment. Um, how can developing emotional intelligence help these physicians shift from survival mode to more intentional, joyful living?
That's a good question. So I think when I say survival mode, I don't mean burnout. I think
Mhm,
sometimes those two words are used together, and I don't in any way connect the two because I think you can feel like you're in survival mode without actually being burnt out. So I want to make that distinction. Um, and when I think of survival mode, I think of just going, just operating, just living, doing the things you have to do to get them done, kind of thing. And so for us as physicians, female physicians, for people like me in anesthesiology or surgery or any, kind of rapid fire intense situation,
mhm,
it's very easy to become reactive,
mhm,
to kind of move from our prefrontal cortex down to our amygdala and just react. And I think that's where a lot of stress and suffering can come from, especially when that reactivity stays active beyond the exposure that caused it, if that makes sense.
mhm,
And so having emotional intelligence, without going into too much detail of, the definition, one of the biggest components is self-awareness. So having the ability to notice and interpret, to sense and feel what's going on in my body. Where do I feel it? What am I thinking? What emotions do I have? Is the first step to allow us to do something about it. And so instead of, continually operating from this place of constant reacting, having emotional intelligence allows us to experience joy because it gives us the ability to have intention with what our next step is moving forward.
mhm. Yeah. I think we need a little bit more information about what emotional intelligence
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I didn't want to just like go off on a tangent. I wanted to kind
Yeah,
of,
no, but you're right, because it's helpful, but kind of like
yeah.
what.
So emotional intelligence, so Daniel Goleman is a psychologist that made the concept popular. He did not, coin the term, but he certainly made it popular with his book titled Emotional Intelligence that was published in 1995, I think. And a lot of the stuff you read today is, kind of resulting from that book. And he says that there's 4 domains of emotional intelligence. There's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship or social management. So self-awareness is, just what I described, the ability to sense that I'm feeling something, notice it, notice how it comes up, notice what triggered it, all these kinds of things. And then the self-management portion comes where we take those emotions and do something with them. So, to give it more context, I don't know. I have a daughter who's almost 4. So anybody who has kids, like, I feel like you already know what that means, Um, if I have a long day at work and I come home and I just want to do the bedtime routine, right? But maybe she's missing me because she hasn't seen me all day. And so she's not, we're not jiving well. Instead of just kind of going into a state of reactivity and yelling at her or, kind of having an experience with her that I will later regret and feel guilty about, instead I am aware of, oof, I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling like she's not listening to what I'm saying. I'm feeling a little bit disrespected. Maybe I felt disrespected at work or, whatever. Um, and I can, in that moment, in that space between noticing what I'm feeling and then doing something about it, that space is where I can have the intention and I can choose to do with what I'm feeling the way I want to. So instead of snapping at her, for example, I can say to myself, you know what? You really need some time. You know that's coming when she goes to bed, and right now she really needs you, and I know that that's something you want to do for her, and so I'm allowing you, this is me talking to me, you know, the space to do that. So that's kind of the personal aspect of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, self-awareness and self-management. And then there's a social component. So there's social awareness, also described as empathy. So being able to sense and feel, understand, relate to the emotions of others.
Mm-hmm.
And then the relationship management portion would be how to conduct relationships in a way that accounts for my emotions, but also the emotions of whoever else is in the relationship with me. Specifically, relationship management is where a lot of work comes. You know, some of the women that I work with who have actual defined leadership roles, we spend a lot of time in relationship management because, I mean, studies have shown that leaders with high emotional intelligence do better, lead more effectively, and have happier teams as a result. So a lot of our work is spent there, but I think all four pillars are equally important for a well-rounded life.
Well, thank you for giving us that thorough definition.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
good. So many leaders are taught to prioritize like logic and decisiveness.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think that can come at the expense of something like emotional awareness.
Mhm.
What are some common misconceptions about emotional intelligence in leadership? And how do you help women kind of unlearn those?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So I think the first misconception is that it doesn't matter, that emotional intelligence doesn't matter, right? That the hard skills are what matter. Do you have the qualifications? Do you have the letters behind your name, the, you know, the accolades that are on your CV? So that's the first misconception, because as I said, there's lots of studies that suggest that people that have a high emotional intelligence are stronger leaders. Another thing is that, you know, unlike IQ, where you're just born with it, there's not much you can do to manipulate it. Everybody can grow their own emotional intelligence. Everybody has some level of emotional intelligence, right? It's our ability to say, "Oh, I feel mad," right? I feel sad, or I feel happy. But we have the ability to grow it, and I think that's the greatest part about it. And then, you know, some of the other misconceptions that I've noticed when working with women is that to be emotionally intelligent does not mean that you're always happy or that life is smooth, right? It just means that you have a different or deeper awareness and process for going through whatever life is.
Mhm.
Um, and then as far as what I do with women that I work with, I mean, I work with men too. I don't want to be exclusive, but, you know, as a female physician myself,
Mhm.
my heart goes out to all of us, you know, that because there's like an underlying, you know, experience that I think we can all relate to that doesn't often get spoken about. So, you know, um, so what was your question? What do we do to kind of
Yeah. The question, that part is how can, well, people you help, how can they unlearn the misconceptions that they've been taught? Like how,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so when we start working together, we start talking about self-awareness and self-management, right? Because you cannot possibly lead a team effectively if you cannot lead yourself effectively. So we start there. And I think it's almost like a stepping stone. You know, you start with self-awareness, then you move to self-management. And these are stepping stones to get to the place of a strong emotional intelligence. So I think by way of going through the process, we are understanding that these are just myths, that they are, you know, incorrect assumptions. And then the other thing too is just when we work together, you know, we have the opportunity, or they have the opportunity to practice what they're learning, even, you know, at work, but also in personal relationships with their spouses or partners or kids or whatever. And they have immediate, you know, results. They immediately see the results of handling things from an emotionally intelligent perspective as opposed to a reactive perspective. So I think it's very easy to, you know, drink the juice, so to speak, once you're actually doing it in a way that you see the positive effect, you know, that you want to have.
Mhm. With that being said, can you share any like practical emotional intelligence tool, or a mindset shift that has helped you or your clients
Yeah.
connect more deeply?
Yeah,
in personal or professional relationships.
yeah. There's lots of stuff that I
Mhm.
want to say here, but in the interest of time, I think two things that are practical that don't take a lot of time are, um, one's kind of a maintenance thing. So what I'll often suggest is to keep a thought journal in your phone. You can buy something, whatever you want, but at some point during the day, ideally at the end of the night if you have time, but just kind of write down thoughts that have come into your mind, anything you can think of, or in the moment, if you become aware, like, oh, I'm having a thought, I should write it down. And then over time, just kind of look at them and it gives you an awareness of what my brain does when I'm not always conscious to what it's doing, right? You have an idea of what your self-talk is like, what your perspective, your outlook is like. And from there, once you have awareness, you can be intentional about how to move forward. Um, the other thing I like to do, which I actually do myself, and I did when I first started this podcast, because quite honestly, I was kind of nervous, right?
Mhm.
Is whenever you come back online, meaning whenever you've experienced something that's triggering for you that causes you to go into a reactive state, whenever you like come back up from air and you have the ability to say, oof, I'm being reactive, I like to tell people to put, assuming that we're all physicians at least, or at least understand, body parts, put a finger on a pulse somewhere, whether it's like your carotid, or maybe you gently touch your radial, or maybe you're in a meeting and you cross your legs and you put your finger on your popliteal, somewhere where you can feel one of your pulses, just as a way again of grounding you, to remind yourself, like, I am here, this is me, I don't have to be whatever it is that's going on in the situation. And so it's sort of a little thing to take a beat, kind of refocus, and remind yourself that, I have the power to choose my next move. Both of those exercises, honestly, are part of the first component. Both of them are practicing becoming more self-aware, because you don't know what you don't know. And the first step is just realizing what you don't know. And the first step to do that is to become aware of what you don't know. If that makes sense.
Those are great tips, and they're kind of easy to implement. Like you can start
Yeah.
today.
I was like casually just like, holding my face all like calm, and I was like feeling my carotid, like, calm down.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. I mean, it's just been, this is just that, a tip, little, a little of what you do. And I'm sure you go into so much detail with your clients,
Yeah.
and there's so much more to learn about emotional intelligence. But we've gotten such great tips today that anyone can do, as far as, like, taking a breather, listen, feeling their pulse, doing a thought journal,
Yeah.
or just becoming a little bit more self-aware and taking a break before reacting.
I think
um,
it's, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
was just going to say, within the context of, the name of your podcast, Embracing Joy, I think it is hard to embrace joy when you don't have awareness of your current state of emotion, right? And so I think joy can be an emotion, but I think it also can be a state of being. And for me, at least, the thing about him having a stronger, right, I'm still learning. It's not like I'm, exactly where I want to be, but having a stronger emotional intelligence allows me to experience joy in a way that, isn't dampened by any acute suffering that I may be experiencing, if that makes sense. So I think,
right. So, like, regardless of circumstance, you can still embrace joy, and that's
like,
kind
you
of
can be joyful even though you're not happy, if that makes sense,
right.
you know?
Yeah, or things are not going your way, there's still things to be joyful about. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But if you don't take the time and, like, have the awareness of it, joy sounds great, but I mean, it only is going to sound great if you're not actually, being intentional about it, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a great perspective to have. So with that being said, we'll do our wrap-up questions.
Okay.
And who is a model for joy in your life, and
Oh,
why?
I mean, this probably is, people probably say this a lot, but I would have to say my daughter, for a couple reasons. Obviously, seeing life through the child's eye and all that sort of stuff. But, um, she does this thing where she's experiencing all the range of emotions, right? She's like super happy, and then she's just super mad. And at least as far as I can tell, there's no hesitancy in those emotions. She's fully in it. She's fully present in whatever emotion that she's in. It's pretty funny too, because she'll like she tried to drink my coffee one day, and I was like, you can't do that. You can't drink coffee. She got really upset and started crying, and started reacting to that. And then I explained to her why I don't want her to drink coffee. And then just a few seconds later, she'd be like, Mom, do you remember when baby me wanted to drink your coffee? That was so silly, right? It's like, she just has this way about her that is just very carefree, but also very present. And I don't know if that's her personality or if that's being a kid, but I really, really feel that she's my greatest teacher, because she's constantly reminding me, how to stay present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're meant to experience the full range of emotions, but we don't have to stay in any one, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like we're also conditioned to kind of push some of them down, right? To be the mom or the wife or the doctor, or whatever. So it's refreshing. It's frustrating, right? It's not that I don't get frustrated, but I have the self-awareness to recognize that I'm frustrated.
So if you were cooking a cake of joy, what would be your top 3 ingredients?
Interesting. I think my first ingredient would be presence, the ability to be present. Because if you're in your head thinking about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow, there's just no way that you can experience whatever is going on in the moment. And I think in the present moment is where we often experience joy, right? You look back on things and remember feeling joyful, but experiencing joy happens in the present. So I would say presence. Also gratitude, because it's important to be grateful for all things, because to know suffering is to also know joy, right? If we didn't know suffering, we wouldn't recognize joy. So I think gratitude. And then, like I said, probably intention. I want to be I want to be intentional about my life, and I want to intentionally have joy, because joy makes me feel good. So we're keeping joy. I think if you ask me, I would also put nature on top as the icing, because it sort of reminds me that I am just one little ant, in all of this, and it's very humbling. So.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Dr. Graybeck. It's been such a pleasure. If anyone listening, or audience, or maybe who's listening later, if they wanted to contact you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Dr. Makta, so I just don't do social media. Okay. I try, but I just cannot. I have a website. So the website is called theauthenticpulse.com. The Authentic Pulse, you can learn more about me there. There's like a contact me page if you want to just reach out to me. That would probably be the best thing, because I have socials, but I just don't do anything with them.
That's okay. You have a website. The website is good. Yeah.
Well, it's just mostly I've been working mostly like based off of a referral, and then someone was like, you have to get a website, and I'm like, I don't want a website, but now that it's done. So.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a pleasure, and thank you for sharing such wisdom with all of our listeners today. And if you're listening, please share this episode with a friend, or if you're catching the replay, it's a pleasure to have you. Please share this episode and tell us if you have adopted any of the tips that Dr. Graybeck had, and if they helped you. And it's just been such a pleasure. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.